Hello and welcome to Women Who Write Podcasts with Gila and Radha. And today we're just having a little catch up and we thought we would let you in on it. Hello, Gila.
Hey, how are you? So good to connect again. It's been a while, but we consistently talk about writing and women who are writing, and we thought it would be a great time to share our thoughts and feelings with all of you.
Yes, and we were just discussing, well, at least I brought up the fact that in poetry, like a lot of times I feel really drawn to write darker stuff and how like in a way there's like a feeling of not wanting to share it because there are like stigmas about oh you're so dark or oh you must be like they people want to label you like oh you must be depressed, but like the truth is like when I'm writing really dark poetry, I'm not depressed. I actually feel so excited because it's like coming out through me. It's like being like processed out of me, right? And so I don't feel dark and heavy when I'm writing it. I actually feel super excited and light. Is like the juxtaposition on that. So yeah, anyhow, we were just having this conversation. What are your thoughts on that, Gila?
Yeah, as I was saying, I think it's really important that we share those dark poems because, the human condition can be very challenging. And, as much as we want to stay in that airy light, and the fact that you even said that writing the dark poetry makes you feel light because you're allowing yourself to release that
Mm.
by writing that poem or those poems. And so I think that that's also like a healing modality. How do we allow ourselves to release the baggage of this darkness that we're carrying and
Hmm.
share it with others, because I'm sure um, others feel the same. And even beyond just sharing, I think it's just allowing ourselves to go through that and, put it on the page, because then just we release something so that we can be more light. We can see more of the fullness of who we are.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what makes us rich internally is that we have access to those, light and dark aspects and everything in between. We're not just one tone, and we have so much in our toolbox. And it's actually those experiences that are heavy and hard and that we've had those trials and tribulations and we labored through them, and it's like that's what gives us character, that's what gives us character. It's not like we want the whole timeline to be like that, but like it is part of the journey and we can't simply deny it. And I feel that sometimes like there's this kind of trend in this spiritual community of just staying in the surface level, very surface level love and light to the point where it's shocking how shallow it is. And I just simply can't find any comfort in that because it's simply too shallow for me personally. And I like to go into the deep end of things. I like to explore. That's just my nature. And I think all poets, we are very, we like to explore and make it philosophical and try to understand and learn. But we learn, we process. And so when we're learning and processing, we are like bringing all that data together and then like, creating a poem. And it's a beautiful experience and it's so liberating. That's why I am obsessed with poetry, and especially the darker poets really do it for me. Like Sylvia Plath is my favorite poet. And, because I feel that these people felt life fully and deeply. Like they didn't just skate on top of the ice. They went and they dove all the way to the bottom of the ocean. and they came back out. So for me, I love depth and I feel depth and I just feel being alive is feeling everything and not being prejudiced. And so, but then I think there's that like feeling of like, wow, if I put this out, people are just going to think, oh, that person is so dark. But we're both, we're everything in between. So I think being a poet, it's like one of our greatest gifts is really not caring what other people think because people will have an opinion about anything. Some people will love, some people will hate, some people will label because they just label everybody. So we don't have to stay in anybody's box, right, Gila? At least that's how
Sorry. Yeah,
I
sorry,
feel.
I was on mute.
Oh, gee.
Um, Yeah, yeah, we don't have to stay in anybody's box. I love what you said. And I think it's completely like on point. I think that and I agree with you about the whole love and light. It's always like when I was in that community, it was like always like, oh yeah, love and light, love and light. It's like, wait a second, are you gonna love me when I'm like, on the floor?
Yeah, are you gonna love me when
I
I'm
don't hear
down
you
or
saying love and
just
light now.
actually, and that's the truth.
Um,
It's like, no, that sometimes they can't hold that space. And it's
right.
shocking how many like healers can't hold the space for the
hmm
really big depths. They actually only want to skirt on the top. And so I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, no. Yeah, you're so right. That's how I felt too. And even like in my darkest moments, I really wanted to be in that like love and light thing, but I was just like, I don't know, looking at my three kids looking at me like, what are we gonna do now? Like, I don't know, love and light was just not there.
Yeah.
I mean, love was there, but the light was a bit hidden, and
Yeah, yeah.
we had to unearth it together, and we've been through some
Yes.
really hard times.
I mean, it's the journey. Like, look at
hmm
what's been going on where you are. Like, the war. Like, let's just
hmm
be really honest. People dying, and that's not that we want to like indulge, but at the same time, when real stuff is going on it's like you can't be I always feel like it's narcissistic to kind of be like, oh, that doesn't affect me, so I don't care kind of attitude just doesn't do it for me. In a sense, we all feel it. We all feel it. And some people choose to go numb. And I
hmm
think part of the healing journey and part of really being a great poet is like, no, like poets, we can't afford to be numb. We have to unfreeze, those parts of ourselves. We have to go into those parts that have ached, those parts that have lingered, the tears that were frozen in time, and all the places, even the joy and the pleasure and the bliss and the every part. We can't be afraid to explore. It's kind of like being an actor. Like if you're an actor, you're not going to be like, oh, I can't play a villain because I'm only love and light. Like, well, then you're not a real actor because a real actor can actually play both. They have the capacity, they have the range, right? And so we're dealing with like emotional range here and energetic range, but I feel like people are so quick to put labels on things. Um, I think of like some of the poets right now, and I won't mention any names, but that are like super, super, super celebrated. And they write like 3 or 4 lines of like, you wanted me, but I said no, and so now it's so like over. You know what I mean? Just
Right,
like
right. No,
go and like,
actually, I read something about that. And I won't
yeah,
mention it either, but yeah, it's like all this Instagram stuff kind poetry that is just like,
it's so
is
dumbed
on the
down.
bestseller list. And and I'm not like denigrating them or anything, but I think that going to those depths, even if you look at really old poems, from like the 1800s or something, like they go into these kinds of depths that we still feel right now.
Mm.
and it's because it's emotion. It's so tangible. It doesn't
Oh.
matter if we were living in that time period or we're living like now, wherever we are in the world. There, there are these deep, part of just the human experience that I
Mm.
think is very important. I think in order, like, and I was gonna say that, like, some of the beautiful love poetry that I wrote when I was in that space, I read it and I'm like, wow, but I'm just like, wait, that bubble burst, like that wasn't what I expected, but that's what happened. And like, but now I can see this person, you know, in their fullness, and it's not just the sliver that I wanted to see.
Yeah, I know what you mean, honey. I know what you mean.
I mean, not to say anything bad, it's
Yeah,
maybe also of me as well. The
yeah,
sliver that he wanted to see of me is not the
exactly.
same.
Oh man, I know the slivers of each other. And because we're not slivers, we're whole
Right.
we're whole. And
Mhm.
so I think that's also another thing is like when we get real about our own um fullness and our own just wholeness and what that looks like. I think a lot of people are in denial about the fact that they have a shadow and like if you get into a fight, with
Mhm.
a partner, like you really see who somebody is. Like they're not just that smiling, shiny face, or some people are extremely avoidant. When you get
Mhm.
close to them, they run away. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
cowards. They're cowards. And so
Mhm.
like these are real things. People are cowards. People are afraid of their own shadow, and that's just something something people can process and work through and actually achieve something else on the other side of that. But it is part of this life. And so when we're in denial about that, like I know what you're saying because I used to look at relationships like, oh, I just see
Mhm.
potential. And
Mhm.
then you enter into this union and they're just not showing up in the way, like in any capacity, not even in any way that was represented in those, courting era. Now they're
Mhm.
in like I'm comfortable era and I don't
Mhm.
really care era. And so, like, and then you're like, wait a minute, like, what happened to that person that I was thought I was dating? But I mean, I think that's why I think it's always better to show like you can't show your fullness because you have to test things out. But I think to kind of just be like, okay, well, this is who I am, take it or leave it. Now, who like I like to know who you are, like, so I can take it or leave it because I think it's better to know the wholeness than to be in denial. And I used to just look at people based on their potential and I would just work that potential for all it's worth. And like that's not the fullness of it. So it's a gift to see the truth. I mean, to see the wholeness, but it's also painful. And so to write about it, like it's important to write about all of it, right?
Yeah, no, it's so important. And I think that I was, just we're going to have a class really soon, and I was going to share something, and, maybe I'll just share it here. But it's just a beautiful quote I found actually on Substack, that this new platform that I'm on. And it's by James Baldwin. And he wrote, where did I put it? Oh, here. Love does not begin and end the way we seem to think it does. Love is a battle. Love is a war. Love is growing up. And I really loved that last line, love is growing up, because I feel like that's what's happened to me.
Mm.
I grew up and I realized, you know what? Love is not just love and light, right? Love is not just like amazing magic. Love is also the everyday. Love is being mature and being responsible.
Mm. Yeah. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I'm gonna read a poem. Just a darker one. This is from 1794, by the way.
Oh, okay.
William Blake. So this just goes to show
Hmm.
that's why I love poetry, because even if language changes, like the ideas are timeless. So it's called A Poison Tree. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath. My wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not. My wrath did grow, and I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles and with soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld its shine, and he knew that it was mine, and into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning I was glad to see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. Anyhow, that I just thought that was a funny.
Great.
I know. I was like, what would be like a poem? I mean, th so basically, this poem is about like betrayal, right?
Hmm.
This friend, he had something. He calls it an apple, whatever that could be. Apple of his eye. It could
Hmm.
represent many different things, but
Hmm.
basically, his friend came in for the kill and took what he had, and so. Um, I mean, we deal with things like that, like betrayals in different ways, and it's not, and I think this is a healthy way to express yourself rather than doing anything crazy. People are doing crazy stuff in the world. Like they're acting on their impulses and their animal kind of instincts, like their reptilian brain is activated, but they're not processing. Like this, like poetry is the healthiest way to process. Let me just tell you.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's really, that's what I've said, like to me, writing poetry is a healing modality.
Mhm.
Like that's part of my therapy for myself,
Yeah, exactly.
Without it, I don't know where I would be, honestly.
Oh, sister. Oh, I am so grateful we got to have this short chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lynn. I'm so glad you spontaneously decided to record.
We were just having like a conversation. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna press record because we do this all the time. And then every time we're like, oh, we should have recorded that. So thanks for tuning in to our little behind the scenes convo. We're wishing you a gorgeous, beautiful day. And remember, you can join our Radiant Sutras poetry program still. There's still time to join us. We go all the way until February 1st. So if you want to, I'll put the info below. And until next time, much love and keep on writing. Bye for now.
Bye bye.